Hey, good Wednesday morning, everyone. BAM weather meteorologist Vince Bryan here with your latest long-range forecast. Hope everyone is doing well out there on this Wednesday morning. With the latest long range here, I want to get into really what we're looking at last few days of February, kind of end of week 2, beginning of week 3 timeframe, what we're looking at for March, some key storm dates, some risks, and really what we're looking at, again, getting into the beginning of late winter, early spring here. So let's go ahead and hop into things per usual here. Taking a look at the current radar, widespread snow showers across parts of the northeastern U.S., the upper Great Lakes. Those will continue as we go throughout the day today. You can see off to the west kind of continued rain and snow across the mountain west here, and then widespread rain showers across the southeastern U.S. And this will be an area that continues to see multiple shots of rain here over the next couple of days, especially looking to be a rather wet weekend for some of those areas. Before we hop into kind of the favored, I'll call it the future radar guidance here, I want to quickly show the usual weeks 1 and 2 here. Weeks 1, next 7 days on the left, temperature and precip. Weeks 2, temperature and precip versus average. And what you'll notice here, for those that have been paying attention here over the last several days, the pattern really is not changing a ton. We're just slowly inching everything east. The cold is slowly retreating off to the east. The widespread warmth is pushing east. And then by week 2, we are just widespread warm everywhere here. In terms of the precipitation, the trend, no doubt about it, has been further south because of just such a strong high pressure north. And so, areas, we'll call it from Oklahoma City to Dallas and points south and east, over the next 7 days, looking at anywhere between 1.5 inches and 2.5 inches of rain. Should be decent moisture in those areas. And then as we go into week 2 and the ridge expands here, we're going to kind of watch for 2 areas of continued moisture. One is across much of the mountain west. You can see the mountain influence based on how, I guess you'd say, choppy or sporadic the above and below average precipitation is. And then as well as the northern U.S. I really think locations, we'll call it roughly right in here, the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, parts of the Northeast will stay active based on the storm track here. It is certainly going to shift from one that is more in the southern U.S. to one that is more and going to take a lot of these storm systems up through the northern part of the U.S. here, the Great Lakes, as we get again into that kind of final third of February here, if you will. To illustrate that, I want to show kind of the favored thinking here as we head over the next several days. We've been talking about this for really the last several videos and at least last week here, that the last half of February is looking rather active, and we're still favoring that and thinking that, and some of the latest data is certainly latching onto that idea. Over the weekend, you can see Saturday, Sunday from Oklahoma City across the deep south here, looking at widespread rain with this low pressure system. I do think there could be some strong storms across parts of the deep south here. I think this model's picking up well on. Again, that is Saturday, Sunday. We're likely going to get into this pattern where it's a storm system and then a few day break, and then a storm system and then a few day break here. You'll notice that few day break comes early next week. We watch for system number 1 in the northern plains. Notice the pattern shift. It's not the deep south. It's now more so the northern plains, the northern U.S. here. This is early next week. That clears out of the area. We get a couple day break here, middle of next week. Late next week, here's system number 2 across parts of the upper Midwest, the northern plains. That system clears out. Couple day break. Here's system number 3. You get the idea here. So we definitely think that this continued pattern will allow for the northern, we'll call it the upper Midwest, the northern plains, the Great Lakes to stay active getting into that final part of February here. There's yet another system. So this continued pattern will be kind of the case and the theme here as we go throughout the next, we'll call it 7 to 14 days. In terms of our temperatures, I'm going to break this down kind of day by day here using the favored model data. Notice by the late part of week 1, you can see the day, February 15th, we are widespread warm across the area, across the country by late week 1 here. As we go late week 1 into early week 2, again, widespread warmth. There's really the only area that is going to be below average is the west coast, I'll call it the western quarter of the U.S. here. But other than that, just widespread warmth for the 15th through the 20th. Once we get beyond the 20th here, there's going to be about a week window, the 20th through roughly the 26th, where I want to keep a close eye on things, because given all of those storm dates, there's likely going to be some moderation in terms of the warmth. I think we're going to stay rather warm across the central and southern U.S. here given the track of the storm systems. But I do think that there are going to be some, I'll call it variability, some model run-to-run changes and trends and tweaks here, given the multiple storm dates, the exact timing, the exact placement, the strength, you name it. So don't be surprised if between the 20th and 26th, we see data, especially some of these ensembles, try and sort themselves out a little bit. If we start to see more of an up and down pattern for a time, you'll notice as we go now late week 2 getting into, or excuse me, midweek 2 to late week 2, we lose some of the intensity of the warmth, again, as some of these storm systems will pull down some cooler air. And notice by end of week 2, now getting into week 3, for those of you that have been watching the past several videos, we've been talking about this pattern, and I'm going to talk about it again towards the end of the video here, kind of the favored weeks 3 and 4 time frame. Notice this, it's cooler, warmer, and cooler. Cooler western U.S. kind of into the high plains, much warmer across much of the central U.S., deep south, and cooler into the northeastern U.S. So that pattern, that thinking still holds and it still stands here. From a heating demand perspective, I want to talk about this. This is the latest EPS here in the overnight run. Again, widespread below average in that 15th to 19th, 15th to 20th window. That roughly February 19th is when we kick off that active pattern especially. Do not be surprised if right in here we are just active and volatile in terms of some trends over the next several days. Like I said, would not shock me if we see colder trends, warmer trends just across the board here with model data as it tries to sort out those multiple storm systems. You can kind of see it suggesting that, where we rise quickly and then flatten out, and then rise a little bit and then flatten out. So it just would not shock me if we go kind of, let me clear my drawing here, if this goes to one of these numbers where it's a drop and then a rise and then a drop, and it's just a little bit more amplified than what data is trying to show. With that said, I want to kind of discuss what we're looking at. I'll call it the end of February and beyond here. Here's some of the latest, the VPs of velocity potential, the upward motion here. We have the CFS up top, we have the GEFS here bottom left, the EPS bottom right. Again, I'm focused on late February into early March. Notice where these blues are. That is our area of upward motion, kind of hovering between 90 east and 150 east on the CFS. If we look at the GEFS in that same time frame here, again, late February into early March, we're roughly in that same area, 90 to 150. The EPS is incredibly similar here. It is 90 to 150. Notice the difference, though, with the EPS. It is much weaker with this pulse of upward motion. That is not a surprise. The EPS, while it could be correct, has a tendency and a bias to just kind of stall out and weaken the MJO in these phases 4 or 5, right as we start to kind of get into that maritime continent area. That is a common bias of it. And notice how the CFS and the GEFS both kind of try and continue the pulse and propagate this further eastward with time, or the EPS just kind of stalls that. You can see that here on our RMM or our MJO plots. Notice how the CFS, as we go throughout the end of February here into early March, it's just taking this purple line, the MJO, straight through phases 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think it is likely a bit too quick. As it stands right now, if I had to select a favored model for the weeks 3 and 4 period, it would be the GEFS. I like its progression, where it's still moving it, we're still progressing, but it's a little bit slower than the CFS here. But the pulse of upward motion is alive and well. The EPS, notice it just flat out kills this as we try and get into that phase 4 and 5, and it just goes what we call into the circle. Again, could that be right? Well, of course it could. This is just a common bias of it to kill off this pulse as we start to try and get into phases 4 and 5. So again, could it be right? Of course, but that's not our favored thinking as things stand right now. Real quickly, want to talk about the sea surface temperature anomalies here across parts of the Eastern Pacific as it relates to El Nino and La Nina. Notice where we're at right now in terms of our waters here. These 1 and 2, 3, 3.4, and 4 are just certain areas within ENSO that we look at here. Notice how we are above minus 0.5. ENSO 3.4 is the only one that's still hanging out technically in La Nina territory. Nino, the 3 region and 1.2, or excuse me, 1 and 2 are both above that. We expect that to continue here. I touched on this during the last video here. in terms of our spring outlooks and a rising La Nina going into a neutral state and then eventually El Nino. And so what this does, or what this is kind of the reason I bring this up, this would suggest that we are certainly working towards more of what we would call a nada state. We're not Nino, we're not Nina, we're just kind of neutral. And so I say all of that to say I want to show some of the favored kind of correlations between the MJO and ENSO as we get into that March timeframe. This is phase 4 on the top, phase 5 and phase 6. These green boxes indicate that there's a decent correlation to what these composites are. These are not just 2 or 3 dates in the past 100 years. There are several dates that can be attributed or contributed to this. Notice these are not going to be perfect 1-to-1, but notice some of the cooler air north and we are warmer to the south in phase 4. As we go phase 5, we're more widespread warmth across the U.S. with some cold in the northwestern U.S. By phase 6, again, warmer south, especially south and east, with some cooler air in the northwest. So again, the general takeaway here, we're not taking this 1-to-1, general takeaway, warmer south, south central, southeast, cooler north and northwest. One area we'll have to keep a close eye on is the northeast, and I'll touch more on that in a moment. But I wanted to show all of this to kind of continue to build us up here to what data is trying to suggest. As we take a look, this is the GEFS at the top. This should look eerily similar to what we have been showing. This is my, again, favored weeks 3 and 4 model. It's cooler north and west. It's warmer up top between the central, the south central, the southeastern U.S. here. And then there's some wiggle room, if you will, some near normal temperatures in the northeastern U.S. The CFS is very similar to that. It's just not as extreme with the warmth because it's trying to progress the MJO much faster. The EPS, it looks a little bit different. It's not as aggressive with the warmth, again, because it's not as aggressive with the MJO pulse, the upward motion, and so it leads to cooler opportunities in the northeastern and Great Lakes. In our opinion, this would be the risk to the forecast, the EPS. If our forecast is too warm, it's because the MJO pulse just simply does not do what we think it is going to do. Favored up top, risk bottom left here. In terms of some analog years that we just favor overall for multiple different, whether a combination of ENSO, the MJO, the Pacific Ocean, just several different pattern drivers. 2009 and 2017 are 2 of the top. They're not perfect by any means, but notice the overall general theme. Cooler north and west, warmer central. Again, opportunity for some near normal temperatures east. 17 was a little bit further east with this, but you get the general idea. Cooler west, warmer in the central and southern U.S. here. In our opinion, it's not perfect in the east. With that said, that leaves us with the updated 3 and 4 outlook late February into early March. You can see last year was widespread warmth. We are favoring warmth, really I would call it from the desert southwest across the country. I think the Pacific Northwest, the northern parts of the northern plains here and into the kind of far northeastern U.S., best opportunity to see below average temperatures. One thing I want to draw your attention to, and again, the risk here for sure, notice the much below normal temperatures in southwestern Canada. Something that data is trying to suggest and pick up on here with the polar vortex. This is the very end of the run. So again, this can certainly trend and tweak and roll forward a bit differently. But notice the EPS trying to suggest kind of a piece of the lobe of the polar vortex, trying to show up here parts of Alaska, southwestern Canada, extreme northwestern parts of the U.S. The GEFS, it's very similar. The GEPS, the Canadian ensemble, it's also very similar. And so we certainly think that the northwestern U.S. is absolutely a colder risk here in this time frame. What we will need to watch very closely as we progress, not so much I don't think early March and maybe not even middle March, but as we get into the back half of March, some cooler risks, colder opportunities if this lobe can stay here and then eventually swing its way east in combination or in tandem with the MJO at that point, we're likely working through phases potentially and possibly 7, 8, and 1, which are certainly cooler risks getting into March. So again, in our opinion, if there is a cooler or colder risk to the forecast, it would be kind of the back half of March with the risk of this polar vortex and with the risk of the MJO working into phases 7, 8, and 1. So again, leave you with our favorite 3 and 4. That is the thinking as it stands now. Risk is as we get more so into the middle and latter half of March, we have to trend this cooler. That's the latest thinking. If you have any questions, reach out. Have a great rest of your day.